good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope that all of you had a great Halloween if you are participating in Halloween. And I hope that everybody was safe and you're enjoying. Your kids actually really enjoyed their time. Just make sure that they don't eat too much candies at the same time. Now, this morning, Tammy and I want to talk about the compensation plan. And just to give you an overview, before I welcome everybody here, just want to give an opportunity for everybody to join in. Um, our goal is not for you to become a compensation plan master. Of course, it's in your benefit to really understand it from top to bottom, but it's really to understand it enough for you to see the vision, for you to see the potential that this opportunity brings into your lives, because the potential is absolutely massive. And often we live in a society that we want everything yesterday with minimal amount of work. You understand. So but if you understand the benefits on every time you actually do an activity of some kind that builds your business to go forward, it's very motivating knowing what's happening. And we don't get discouraged because we're not earning that much of an income at the moment, because we understand the reason why. Okay. So let's start by welcoming everybody here. I'm not sure if I'll be able to go through the entire list, but Bakshi, welcome. Great to see you from Bangladesh. We have Maripol from Ottawa. Welcome. Enyunam, welcome from Accra, Ghana. Notice that, folks, that it's generally the same people that are here bright and early. I recommend you follow this lead, folks. This is a really good way to start the day. Be there first instead of be there last second, unless you have some activities or you're involved in something. We understand that. We have here Wally from Kansas. Great to see you here. Let's see. We have Rail from from St. Lucia. Great to see you here. We have Dorothy from Accra, Ghana. I think it's Accra, right there, Dorothy. Let's see here. Yes, you did put it here. Okay, we have Benjamin from it's a ciao. That's in Italian. Nice to see you. Let's see here. We have Leslie. Great to see you here from New Guinea. Great to see you here. Perry from Florida, Tampa. How are you, man? Nice to see you. Hopefully the family's doing well. Let's see here. We have Empowerment for Success from South Africa. Johannesburg. This is such a nice place. I remember we went there. I think
it was beautiful.
16, 17, or 18. I forgot what year. We have here Legacy. Great to see you here. We have Gary. Hey, Gary, how are you? From Ottawa, Canada. We have Courtney from Toronto. We have Pierre here. Peter, how are you? Let's see here. We have Levy. Great to see you here. We have Sakibi.
Yep, people are starting to roll in now, Chris.
Okay, so hey, listen, folks, welcome. We need to get this training started. I just like to really welcome and just give everybody the honor of being mentioned on the call, but we do have to get started. So thank you for joining in. So as I was saying here, folks, is what we want to focus on today. Let me just bring this up on the screen. We want to focus on the compensation plan. Now, like I said, we're not going to try to convert you into a master compensation plan person, but more of understanding how the plan can benefit you based on the presentation that we have based on this slide over here. Okay. You want to focus on these 7 ways to earn. That's what we want to focus on here. And then I'm going to be referring to the document over here. And also I'll be referring to some of those displays here that kind of simplifies the explanation of each of those steps in going to, especially for those first 3. Those first 3 over here, this is the foundation. If you start doing number 1, well, number 2 will occur, number 3 will occur, number 4 will occur, number 5 will occur, number 6 and number 7, which I'm not going to get into today because it's really no point to get that far. What's important is for you to understand 1, 2, and 3, and of course number 4 and 5, which when you start getting the gold to platinum, then you start kicking into the generation bonus and dynamic bonus, and I'll explain all that to you as we move forward. Anything else, Tammy, you want to add before we begin?
No, you're very straightforward.
Okay.
At the end, we'll talk about the simple strategy. I know we haven't talked about that in a long time, but the 4 benchmarks of focus and to duplicate that within your organizations.
Yes. Now, I've just shared with in the chat section here the link to join in the GBU playlist of our training. I noticed I didn't put in the one from last week. It says 13 days, so obviously it should be 7 days. So I'll add it in. I think I added it twice by mistake, so I'll take care of that later. But anyway, so I think I picked the wrong one. So the point here is all the trainings that we do are here. Even the events are here. Okay. And the thing is, I know that some of you might be having some challenges with the email marketing and all of this. Look, we've covered probably 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times, the cycle of what's going on in the back office. You can see GotBackup, back office mastery, simplify, scale, and success. This is a good training. You can see the numbers a little higher because it's something that covers really what's in there. And it goes on here, ChatGPT, high converting emails, and things like that. You can go on and on and on. Okay, so keep in mind that this is actually located right into the GVO channel. GVO is the parent company that has created GotBackup, the Shark email marketing, the testimonial generator. I mean, these were all independent software that were engaged. And there's something new coming in, folks. You are going to love this stuff in reference to social media. The question is, will you be using it? You'll have to be a pro to access this particular tool. But again, folks, it's basically $20 a month instead of $10 a month for like a whole buffet of tools that were not available before. Okay, for again, just to bring this up into perspective, the $9.97 a month for those of you that are brand new. This the cloud storage, which is the GotBackup. Anything to do here with the GotBackup, which is really the flagship product, which we know is going absolutely mainstream around the world. And again, the lead capture are all the details that are related to the leads coming in from all of those funnels that are available in here. So that's not what the training is all about today. I just thought I can mention that, and the fact that you can access this all over here. You can see that we have other presentations here. The Success Cycle series is a good one for those of you that really don't understand or really haven't had any success on the steps in building the business. And again, it's not so much in social media. It's more of the principles of network marketing and 5 different modules in here. So,
and if all of you are like, if some of you have team members, at the end of the day, when you sign up, it's always exciting, because it's all about you and learning and all of that. But the moment you sign up your first person, it's no longer about you. It's about helping the team grow. And it's important to have a team presence on a platform, whether it's Messenger or WhatsApp, and just to keep people informed. People need to be reminded. People are just so busy today, and they just need that reminder. If you work in your email system, they're getting that reminder. Chris and I work our email system, so our team members get these reminders every single week. And also Joel reminds people. But going back to the trainings itself, I highly recommend to go through the trainings and copy some of the links. Like each week, work on one specific training task and make sure that your team members are on board with you. So for example, if you want all of your team members to know the four benchmark strategies, that training was done in here. You just got to go through and think of how can I work a strategy plan that I can engage the team into moving to that next level and learning the basics. Because the more engaged that your team members are, the more likely everybody's going to be earning more and growing personally in their skills. Okay, and so go through these and work your plan. And you'll see it'll grow.
And look at this over here where this is, again, you can see the numbers a little bit bigger because it's probably a common area where people are needing some explanation on this. And you'll notice that when it comes to compensation plan, we have that's actually was a Q&A around the actual back office. In fact, I think next Saturday we're going to be doing an introductory, an overview, which it's a video that you'll be able to use for a brand new person. So someone who's brand new that comes into GotBackup, you can send him that video. It's going to walk him through everything that they should know, the support and everything else. So I think we'll do that next Saturday. So let's go back to the purpose of this call here today, which is the compensation plan details. And if you have any questions, I highly recommend that you post it in a comment. Now, I'm going to try to pay attention because I have a couple screens. That's a screen that I'm looking at you with the information I'm sharing. And on the left side, I have your comments. So it's easy for me to overlook something. So Tammy, you can help me out with that.
Yes.
And we can go through this. Now, let's start with, I want to start with a reference that all of you are familiar with, which, by the way, let me start back a little bit. If you click on GotBackup and you click on Extra Promo Tool, this is something that most of you have not noticed, or if you did, maybe you have never clicked on it. I'm going to right click just so I don't lose that page, open into a new tab, and it's showing up right over here. And it's basically the cloud storage, the GBU cloud of actual GotBackup. And these are information for everybody. So if you go to promo content, and you select English, now you can see here, sometimes that I use some videos in reference to, for example, the tour when I'm presenting. There is also extra videos that has to do with, this is in other directories that are within the GotBackup cloud storage, where you can pick up all of these videos. But I want to focus here on the compensation plan, where you can actually click on this. Okay. And when you do, you can download that. Okay. It's as simple as that. Okay. So just want to mention that to you, which I already did. And it's right over here. As a matter of fact, the version you're looking at is exactly what I just showed you. And I downloaded it like this second ago. In fact, if I go in and you can see here, it's right there. I just downloaded it like a couple seconds ago. Okay. Now, in moving forward, you'll notice that the 7 ways we earn is actually here in details. And if you look at the compensation plan, this is exactly what we're talking about here. So our goal here this morning is to create a direct reference from what we're presenting, or what the team, different languages, are presenting to you weekly based on the actual details PDF, which in a presentation, we don't go through a complete compensation plan explanation because it would put people to sleep. But if you really want to understand this, so you can teach it to your downline, if you want to have momentum into your business, you need to understand this, because if you understand it, you can share it to someone else. And I'm telling you that if you understand the comp plan, it's a lot easier to share the vision with someone else. And I don't recommend that you try to go into all the details, because people are going to get bored. They just need to know enough to understand that if you do this, this is happening. And if this is repeated over time, the income stream you can generate could be in tens of thousands of dollars a month. And I'm not exaggerating, because that's what the plan promises. And Tammy and I have been living out of compensation plan for decades, and we've done very well doing so. So what I'm sharing with you, it's not just blah, blah, blah to sound good. It's the reality of our own life. That's why we do these trainings. So the very first one here is customer acquisition bonus. Okay. So I'm going to just refer this to the compensation plan. Now, the PDF is not going to talk about the pro plan. And I know the pro plan, there are some alterations that are coming up to simplify and to make it more cost effective for new customers. If you are an existing associate of GotBackup and you are in a family plan and you would love to take advantage of the pro, all you need to do is you go to your GotBackup platform, you go under support. I'm just going to open it so you can see what I'm talking about. And from the support, you just issue a ticket, open a ticket and say, I would like to upgrade my position to a pro. And then the person that you're going to be interacting with will tell you exactly what you need to do. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen is instead of paying $10 a month, you're going to be paying $20 a month. I recommend to pay for the year. And the reason why is you're saving 2 months. I highly recommend to pay for the year. Okay. So when you go back to, sorry, I keep flipping back and forth here. Where are we? Presentation. Okay. So understand that these customer acquisition bonus. This is paid one time. Okay. First month, personally enroll. This is designed, and Tammy, feel free if you want to tap into this. Um, the goal is to encourage you to go out there and talk to people. And if someone decides to get involved monthly, you receive 200% from the 997. Now, understand that the 997, we're going to round it off to 10 because it's easier to work with round numbers. So that's $20. You understand the reality will be 19 and change, but let's again keep that simple. It's $20. You get that on month one. That's it. Next year, there's no, it doesn't occur. Now it falls into what we're going to talk about later on the cycles and everything else, which is really, really exciting. Okay. If someone gets into the pro plan at the moment, what's happening is if you sponsor me and I say, okay, I come in with a pro plan, you will earn $200. Now that's pretty cool. Okay. And what's happening is if you happen to be my upline, you get $200. The person that would be your upline gets $50. And the person that would be his upline or her upline gets also $50. That's what this is designed to do. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to this, Tammy?
No, you're very clear. I mean, the pro plan, that tier payout, it really encourages support. And that's one thing that we love about this profession. You know, you got to help people, and the more people you help, the more successful people become. And you want people to have a lot of success because, as we always say, it secures everybody's businesses when you work together as a team. So
exactly. So that's the customer acquisition bonus. And what's happening in a compensation plan in the PDF, I'm going to follow the PDF right now to kind of give you a sense of direction as you get in there. When you start and you open a document, that's the second page, that's the third page. And it talks about the team bonus grid. This is kind of an overview of the qualification required for you to get paid on all 7. So what's happening here, when I'm presenting and you see here, tier 1 cycle, tier 2 cycle. Well, let me go back to what you hear on a regular basis. And I'm going to go right into this slide over here. Earning cycle, bonus tier 1, bonus tier 2. Okay. Now go back to the compensation plan. Tier 1, you will remain in tier 1 as long as you are in these levels: copper, silver, and gold. So tier 1, it's the value of a cycle. So if I go back to the compensation plan here, it says here, amount paid per cycle will vary monthly based on company's profitability and your rank. So when it says your rank, we're talking about this: copper, silver, gold. Okay. Now, when you move on to platinum, sapphire, and we'll cover what you need to do to get into these ranks in a minute here later on as we move forward. When you go to platinum, sapphire, emerald, and above, all the way up to black diamond, then you move into tier 2. So again, back to the presentation. Bonus 1, cycle bonus tier 1 or tier 2. You are now in tier 2 based on your rank. Go back to the plan. The moment you reach platinum, now you are in tier 2 for the rest of your life, as long as you remain platinum and above. Okay. Now, let's go back to the presentation over here. So the question here is, well, how much can you earn in cycle? Well, the question is, how many people do you have in your team that are actively building the business? Because what's going on is on your left team and your right team, and we'll talk about the cycle in a minute here, is generates a cycle. Okay. So if we go back here, let's see if I can go back. I'm going to skip a few things here. talking about the tier. Okay, that's the rank. I just want to focus. Okay, no, it's fine. Okay, so it's pretty clear. So the cycle, I'm just wondering if there's something that was specifically on the cycle. Let me go back here. Okay, so from there, what happens on the cycle, and that's why I use the compensation plan, because it's really the only representation. Oops, presentation that we have here. So what the company requires is for you to have 4 people on your left team and 2 people on your right team.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, or vice versa. Correct. I'm glad you clarify that. This is a cycle. So if you have 1,000 members on your left team and 500 members on your right team, well, how many times does 6 fit into 500? Okay. Tammy, can you calculate that quickly? Or can
You need 1,000, 4 into 1,000.
Well, what's happening here is it's always based on exactly. So, for example, if we have 500, oops, let me just first of all log in here.
Yeah, 250.
Okay, so that would be 250. Okay, and the reason why it's because remember, the left side is double the right side. That's why when you look at the smaller side, let's say there's 1,000 here. I'm using round numbers that are easy to see. And this is 500. Well, 500 fits 4 times. Okay. Fits 2 times into 1,000. So I know that if I divide 500 by 6, whatever amount I get into will fit within that side. And if you don't understand this, don't worry. We have plenty of other trainings you can listen to. I go into more details on that. But that's how you calculate your cycles. And also in your back office, and I can't really share that because that will expose my entire downline, which is not a right thing to do here. But when you go into, I'm just going to show you where you can go. When you go to your My Business and you select my
downline.
My downline.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the screen, there's stats.
Mm-hmm.
When you click on that, it'll take a second and it will show you exactly how many you have on your left that are active, how many you have on your right that are active. The one in the center are the ones that are inactive. And the one on the right, so there's 3 columns, it's the one that are inactive and active. It's the total amount of people. But the first one on the left, that's the accurate cycles that you're going to see based on the amount on the left and the amounts on the right. Okay. And remember, one side is 4, the other side is 2. So going back to this, where's the comp plan here? Going back to this logic here, the way you calculate this over here is if that's 500 and that's 1,000, well, how many times 6 people fits in 500? And Tammy calculated 250 times. So that would be a cycle. So if a cycle is worth X, it's 250 times X. That's tier 1. If tier 2, let's say X2, okay, so it's a bigger amount. So the same amount of cycles. So you don't have more people in your business. You're looking at the exact same amount, 500 and 1,000. That's 250. Now that 250 is multiplied by tier 2. It's a bigger amount. So now you're jumping from tier 1 to tier 2 without adding new people into your business. So that's the reason why you want to move up in rank. Because as you move up in rank, the company opens up its compensation plan like a flower that's blooming under the sun, right? It just makes more value available to you to cash in. And the logic behind moving up in ranks, see, I don't want you just to understand the compensation plan. Let me rephrase it. I don't want to just explain the compensation plan. I want you to understand it. That generates the behaviors that will grow your business. This is what happens in Tammy and I. So when we strategize, we're strategizing on what is the best course of action for us to maximize our income based on our efforts. So the more you understand the plan, the more you understand the behavior. And by understanding the behavior, you can duplicate that within your organization. That's how you earn big bucks into your business, by thinking that way. And not just by focusing, well, how many people are going to buy this? That's CAB, customer acquisition bonus. Good money. There are people that have lists. That's what they do. They sell and they call them affiliates, and they're awesome because they bring lots of people. But the people that build a network, they're the one that are going to earn tens of thousands, if not more, as this grows, because they are nurturing, duplicating. So it's not just about my effort, but it's my effort combined 10,000 times if I have 10,000 members on my team. Do you understand? So that's the difference between understanding the behavioral compensation plan and just understanding the comp plan. Anything else you want to add, Tammy, to this?
Yeah, once you understand it, just focus on the fundamentals, because that's what's going to get you to these ranks is really working the fundamentals, which we're going to share with you. But the cycle payout will be based on the company's profitability, and that is divided into percentages in different parts of the comp plan, which is, Chris, it's in that PDF where you can see the different percentage for the CAB, for the cycle, so you have an understanding of the breakdown of the...
Yes, in fact, I'm getting into that next, but I just want to add the message I'm just mentioned here. Very important to focus on getting to platinum as fast as possible. Yes. Absolutely. And we'll tell you the steps to do that in a minute. And I totally agree with that, because you want to you want to, in fact, in some cases, could be triple from tier one. It depends on month to month. But the fact here is, as a platinum, you're maximizing the value of your cycles. That's why you want to be a platinum as fast as possible and start moving forward.
Yeah. Fast is fun. Slow is painful.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. And we'll get into generation. We'll come back to that slide a little bit later. So I just want to focus on that. And this is a slide that Tammy was referring to, is GBU. What they do is they take 75%, okay, that is based on the profit margin, okay? So the profit margin of GotBackup, 75% is paid into the comp plan. This is extremely generous, because the average, and I don't want to mention companies because I don't want to put anybody down here, but the average, it's around 25%, 26%. If you're lucky, 30%.
Low 30s, yeah.
If you're really lucky, some can go up to 50%. Why? It's because when you got physical goods, there is a lot of overhead dealing with physical goods over and above the cost of delivery and duties, and we could go on and on. I don't want to go political here, but you understand everything that's associated with a physical entity that needs to be shipped from one place to another increases the cost of operation tenfold. So when you're saying, if someone says that's not possible, I don't believe you. Well, we're not dealing with a physical item, folks. We are dealing with a digital service. That's the new era. This is the reason why the future of our industry of network marketing is going to be leaning, it's already starting, towards service base. And it's ironic because 30 years ago, it was not even legal because the world was not ready to start charging for air. But today, it's a complete different world because everything is digital. So now there's a lot of common sense. And that's the reason why the cloud storage is exponentially growing. That's the logic behind why digital services, courses, mentorship, digital service, all of these things, it's what's currently in momentum right now. This is where the money is. Hope that makes sense. Now,
Chris, we have a couple questions that we're going to handle since you talked about the cycle.
Okay.
While we're there. Sonia said, I see sales generated equals to 7, but rank is still bronze. Could you help me understand why?
Okay. So what's happening here, let's go back to, I think that's the one here. In fact, to answer that question, let's go over here. Okay. So the reason why this occurs is, if you notice, there are some qualification requirement for you to move up into your rank. Okay. Because your business could be combined of people you brought in, people that were brought in by people you brought in. This is what we call line of enrollment. These are people that are in your business based on your original efforts. But also in a binary, or excuse me, in a two-team structure, I've been doing binaries for decades, so it's still in my head. So what happened when having the two teams, you're sharing legs with people above you. If you happen to be working below someone that's active, you're going to see spillover. So the people that are in your downline, now I'm not saying that that's the case because I don't know exactly what your back office is showing. And I'm spending time with you, Sanya, because that applies to a lot of people here that may not even pose the question. Is you may see 7 people, but these 7 people in a binary, you'll have a cycle based on 6. But to move up in rank, look what it says here. As a copper, you need 1 on your left, 1 on your right. So my question to you, do you have 1 personally on your left and 1 personally on the right?
No, they're still bronze. Yeah.
Or is it possible that one of your side has people there, but you never sponsored anybody in there? So in this case, you wouldn't qualify to move up past bronze because you only have 1 personally enrolled. Hopefully that helps.
And then, Elizabeth, if some of the people on my shorter were placed by my upline, does that give me a tier 1 or 2 cycle bonus?
Okay. So let's go back to platinum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to get into, let me go back over here.
Go back to the other chart. Yeah.
Okay. To become a cycle 2, you need to be a platinum. We understand that now. How do we become a platinum? Let's go back to the PDF. Well, as a platinum, here's a requirement. You need to have personally 10 people. And look at this, folks. This is really awesome. The 10 people will qualify you for platinum, sapphire, and emerald. This is 3 ranks. This is really generous, by the way, because most company will require at least a bit more, but they maintain this at 10. But there are differences. I'm going to tell that to you in a moment. Now, what's happening is you'll notice that if you go back to copper, 1 left, 1 on the right. If you move up to silver, okay, so you have 2 personally enrolled. So 1 on the left, 1 on the right. But what's the difference? You see here when you move on to the right, copper per line of enrollment. Line of enrollment. Line of enrollment, these are people that were brought in by someone that you brought in. That's what we call enrollment tree. So if, for example, you got spillover into your business and you may have the numbers in left and right, you personally, have you helped 1 person that you've enrolled into your business, keeping in mind that you need to have at least 1 on the left, 1 on the right. You need to have at least 1 person that is a copper. What's a copper? A copper is someone who brought someone 1 on the left, 1 on the right. But it has to come from someone. It doesn't even have to be. In fact, if I go into this slide over here, this is a perfect example. Okay. So this one, you brought in this person left on your left team. That's green. You brought it in. This person is not a copper. This person brought someone here on the left, is not a copper. But this person brought someone else. Oh, this person is a copper. That counts for you. So let me go back to this chart over here. As a silver, you need to have 1 copper. So that means that someone you brought in or someone that was brought in by someone, right? In other words, let me rephrase that to be simpler. If you brought in a person into your business, this person is not a copper, but that person brought someone else that is a copper, that counts for you as 1. This is very cool because in my experience, you need to have personally have someone that's qualified to move up to another rank. That's my experience from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Still is in some cases. The point is we got back up. They say, hey, if you help someone in your team that is not someone you brought in, but it's originally brought in by someone you brought in. That's the enrollment tree. I'm repeating myself here because I want you to clear understanding. That will count. If someone is a copper that was introduced by an upline that underneath you, that's called spillover. That's not part of your enrollment line of sponsorship. It will benefit when it counts the amount of people for cycling, but the company wants you to do your own work so you can deserve the money that will pay you. That's the whole logic of this here. So what's happening is you need to have one copper from your line of sponsorship. Hopefully this is clear for everybody. How do you move up? Okay, so as a goal, well, now you're moving from 2 personal to 5 personal. But now you're jumping where you need to have 2 on your left and 2 on your right that you have personally enrolled. So the company wants to make sure that if it's gonna increase your salary, that you're doing something. So you sponsor 2 on your left, 2 on your right. Okay, so technically you brought in 5. So you have 2 on the left, 2 on the right to create a balance. And look what's really awesome. This remains all the way up to Black Diamond. So you can have one side that is major spillover bonus volume, as long as you got 2 people put on that big fat leg, you can qualify to receive everything that has to offer as long as you meet the requirements. And that's where we move on to duplicate coppers. Okay, it's all about duplicating this rank over here. I want to go back to on the presentation when we get to this slide, when we say the simple system. Here's what, and Tammy explains that regularly. Tammy, why don't you explain it, and I'll cover it. I'll add my point after.
Yeah, so it's a simple process, and we all see this every time we show up on a presentation. The goal is to get somebody signed up and then go get your first 2. So to get copper as quick as possible, 1 left, 1 right. Okay, that's what's going to get you copper to start being able to qualify to get cycles. But you need that qualification of 4 and 2, right? So you go out and get a couple more people, and then you teach them to do the same thing. There's a 4 benchmark training that's in the compensation plan at the end of the PDF that we teach people to follow, because it's a simple process. And as I mentioned, in every single presentation that Chris and I do, people are busy. And most people, this is a side hustle. People want to make some extra money, right? It's not their 100% focus until they start making money. So you got to keep things simple. And the simpler the process for anybody to do, I mean, you'll see duplication within your organization. The key is to stay close and to make sure that people are getting their qualifications. Not everybody checks their emails. Not everybody shows up at the training. It's our job to make sure that people are okay. Do they have an understanding of what they're doing? Hey, let's get the first goal done, and let's get your first 2 in. You know, things like that. And I mean, you can't drag anybody across the finish line.
Correct.
But you can inspire them to get those simple steps done so that they can teach somebody else how to do these simple steps. Everybody can teach these simple steps. Everybody.
You see, folks, we live in a time and an era that I think a lot of folks are a little bit discouraged for many reasons that are, we're facing. And the thing is, it's life, folks. If you go back to, the 1920s and the 1940s and the 1960s and the 1980s, and then there's eras, and things are cyclical. Things repeat all the time. And sometimes we forget, right? But life is cyclical. Don't get caught into the drama, the negative drama of the world. You need to work on yourself on these things and think positive. And that's why I elevated. I don't know why my words are not coming out easy today. What Indian posted over here, and that is absolutely correct, folks. if you set goals, even long-term goals, it may seem like that's impossible. I'm telling you, what you think about expands. There is a time for me to think that to buy a place in a foreign country, like well, for me, the United States not foreign because we've been going there for so many years, but it felt impossible to have two homes
Yeah.
and to deal with all the financial responsibilities of two homes. You know how hard it is already with one home. Imagine two homes, right? So, and some have more. My point in saying here, it used to be in my dream board, and today we're living the life that we plan. So let's go back to the comp plan here. So the fact here is the simple system. This is coppers and duplicating coppers. That's what this is all about. This is why we explain that at its simplest, its simple form, because that copper is the key. Because if you look at placement, it doesn't change much. Sponsorship, it's not that bad at all. But the difference between the ranks, putting this aside for a minute, it's the amount of coppers that are into your business. So if you are showing up to the Saturday training, which congratulations for you to be here, and I really applaud you for being here, but we should have hundreds, thousands of people here, which I noticed that people will come and watch the trainings. I get all of that, and you can skip some areas that maybe you don't need to listen to, and I do that. So that's totally cool. The point here is make sure that you listen to these trainings because it contains some information that can really help you break free from this bondage that you might be into right now financially and even mentally, because Tammy and I had to overcome those too. So let's go back to goal 5, sponsored, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. And you need to have 1 copper and 3 separate enrollment tree. What do we mean? Well, we have a slide to represent. This is the one over here to become a goal. You need to have 5 sponsored and at least 25 people from your enrollment tree. What does that mean? That means that from those 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, some are working the business, and well, they all are, okay? And they have brought in people. But you see, there's no duplication here. There's no coppers. Over here, you brought in 1 person on your right side. There's duplication. There's a copper here, but not yet. It's still a young team. You look over here, that person you brought in on the left. So technically, you only have 1 person that you introduced to the business that has duplicated the process to become a copper. The rest have not. But within their team, some have. You see how that's significant, becomes significant for you to qualify? Many companies, it would have to be personal. So you wouldn't qualify to become a goal until at least 3 personals. In this case, it doesn't matter. As long as it's within your sponsorship team and you have 2 people on your right, 2 people on your left. That's what this says here. So you need to have 1 copper in 3 separate lines. So that means that if, let's say, you got 2 coppers here, it doesn't count as 2. It counts as 1. They want you to help other people in the team because there are some people that are copper producers. They're like a factory of coppers. And that's the reason why they're moving up in ranks. But for you, they also want you to help your team, not just piggyback from someone else that's doing all the work. That's why the plan is brilliant, folks. Smart as heck. So as we move forward here, you can see that as long as you have 3 copper into your business and there's 25 people on your team because people are introducing people, that's what the comp plan explains over here. If we go back to, is it this slide over here? Yes. Okay. That's what it means. 3 separate enrollment tree has to have at least 1 copper, 25 people on your team. Now, platinum, which is really, it took me a while to get there, but I think it was important for you to understand the history of how this flows to become. So as a platinum, now you're moving to 10. So it's a bit of a leap from gold to platinum, but the gift is that 10 will qualify for your sapphire and emerald, 2 other ranks. So then you can focus. That's already qualified because you did it when you were a gold. Now the difference between platinum, sapphire, and emerald are the amount of coppers within those 10 people you're sponsored. So if you go back to a platinum here, everything is except that now you got 10 people sponsored. So it's a little bit of a leap when it comes to the effort. And then from there, you got 4 people that are copper. And there's 40 people in your enrollment tree here. Okay. So that means from the 10 people you brought in, they're duplicating. They may not be copper, but they are introducing people. And that's where you have 40. So if you go back to this slide over here, this is a goal. As a platinum, you would have 40 people here. And instead of seeing 3 orange circle, you would have obviously another person here, another person, because remember, you need 10, and you would see another copper. Just one more. See, so they're not asking you to do things that are extremely difficult. The reason why these 40s, you don't have to count this. This is really the people starting to build a business. They're showing up to the Wednesday presentation. They're showing up to the Friday morning presentation. They're showing up to any of the presentations. Sorry, I don't have the agenda in my head, but I know that the African community does wonderful presentations in different parts of the week. And there's Italian, there's Spanish, there's at the end of the day here, folks. And if there's nobody in your language, you become that person. I'm teaching you. You don't need to explain all of that when you present, but I'm telling you, once you understand it, it's easier to explain and to get someone motivated to move forward. So from there, as a sapphire, why is it important to become a sapphire? Well, what's happening here, let's go back to the grid. Okay. Because as a sapphire, what's going on is you're starting getting cycle match. You know the 25% that I talk about up to $1,000? Okay, let's go back to the compensation plan. Now, tell me there's some comments. I don't know if there's questions there or comments.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to finish that graph, and then we'll go into the questions,
okay.
Starting from,
okay.
back here was asking.
So the cycle match, this is exactly what we're representing over here. So obviously when we explain it, we don't go into details because it will overwhelm most people. But now that you're listening to this, you need to become a sapphire. How do you become a sapphire? Let's go back to the plan. You need to have qualification. Where are we? Okay, as a sapphire. 10 people, we've done that when we were a platinum. 200 left, 200 right. We've done that when we reached the goal. One more copper. One more. Just one more.
In a separate enrollment leg.
Correct. That's why the 5. So out of the 10 people that are there, there's another copper that came in from one of those 10. It could be them or someone in their team. And there has to be a bit of an increase where other people are recruiting others. Now you have 50. You see? So it's not really difficult. Once you reach the platinum, from that point on, it's just help a few people getting 2. You understand? From separate enrollment tree. And that 50 will kind of default happening. If people start bringing 2, not everybody's become copper. It counts. It becomes cumulative. So now that you are a sapphire, now you qualify to earn 25% from every single person you enroll into your GotBackup business, up to $1,000. Now, this is really cool. Let's see if the PDF... Let me just see. Okay, this explains, by the way, the 2-team tree, right? So go back to, I've been very clear about enrollment. That's people you have personally enrolled, those 5 here. And underneath that, all came from these 5 that you have enrolled. When you look at the 2-team tree, that is these people combined with people that were maybe above you, most likely above you, that have also built their business. Just as you are building your business over here, many of your personal will be here. Well, some of those people didn't sponsor a lot of these people. You brought them in. Okay. So that's the binary. And that's that's the 2-team tree. I got to get rid of the word binary because it's not a word that's popular. But the point is binary means 2, 0 and 1. It's a computer term. It's been used in our industry of network marketing because it's one or the other. Okay. So the bottom line here is this is important for the amount of cycles you're going to earn. This is important for your qualification in ranks. So if I move forward,
Yeah, there's some great graphs here, you guys, that you can print up, and that would give you a guideline of your strategy in building this, and to set your goal. Like what rank do you want to be at the end of December to finish this year strong? You circle that rank, and then you know the what you need to do to qualify, and then you work the benchmarks and help people get to copper, right? As many people in the tree. And as Chris said, copper doesn't have to be the person that you personally sponsor. So let's example, if Chris sponsored me and I sponsored somebody, but I didn't really do anything because I was busy, whatever. And that person got copper because Chris helped them out. Then Chris gets that extra copper on that line that he brought me in. You understand? So it's really simple. Help people get to copper. It's as many people as you can, and you'll see these ranks will grow from there. Okay, and the ones that are not ready to get to copper, I always say love people where they're at, and help the people within the team. Find out who you can inspire to get a couple people.
Yeah.
Who can you inspire today to get a couple people so that they can go copper? Who are those people within your organization?
So we have 8 minutes left to this training here this morning.
Okay, let's handle some questions, Chris.
Yeah. So let's just, again, to understand here. So the PDF contains all the information you need for you to understand the qualification period. Yeah, go ahead, Tammy.
Yeah. So Bakshir asked, what is suspended? Suspended is a card didn't go through. So you would want to get back to that person and find out if the card on the account needs to be updated. You need to get back to people. Like I said, people are just so busy. They don't even pay attention to this stuff anymore as much as they used to, because they're so busy hustling to make money. And Reverend Bijou, yes, we do have the PowerPoint in French if you go into the French folder. And you also have Spanish. And I believe, Chris, there's Russian and Italian. And I'm not sure how many more, but go into the extra tools and search in the folders. That's one thing that Chris and I, we did when we started our business. We just went through everything and we clicked on the folders and to look at what's available. What do we have to use to build our businesses? Okay, so make sure that every single one of you have that compensation plan PDF downloaded, and then take a screenshot of that graph that Chris showed you, that shows you all the qualifications that you need to do to go up each rank. Maybe you can go back to that, Chris. Right here. Yeah, this is the one. This is what I did. As soon as the comp plan came out, the new comp plan, I screenshot this. And then I screenshot the 4 benchmarks of what needs to duplicate, which Chris is going to show you at the end, and just work your plan. Right?
So, Tammy, let's finish quickly because we have 6 minutes here.
Okay, so we have more questions. How do you communicate with your downline through an email?
We have trainings on that. Go back to anything that has to do with email marketing and just play. And if you're not hearing what you're looking for, just scroll and it's in there. Because at the end of the day, the quick answer to your question is, when people opt into your email, into your funnels, right? They end up into a campaign, and we show you what the campaigns are. And you can't communicate with 1% of the time unless you create a campaign and you put these people in there, and that's not really an easy way to work. The system is designed, again, I'm going to go back to the system here. The lead capture system is designed for you to work with campaigns, and these campaigns, you have the people that are cancel, the people that are suspended, the people that are your resellers, the people that are the pre-enrollees. And then you select these campaigns, you create your email and submit it to that list. Okay.
Yeah. So Bruce, to answer your specific
We explain
question,
that in here.
yeah, exactly. You learned how to do the email system, but Bruce has something specific. So what I would do, Bruce, is I would create an email, especially after
We have
today's
4
training.
minutes, Tammy.
Yeah,
Just keep in mind. Carry on.
especially after today's training, I would create an email to my resellers and just say, hey, just in case you missed today's training, I would get this training and create the link from the GBU channel, and I would send that to my team. And you can do this through your platforms too. If you have team platforms, WhatsApp,
Okay, let's carry on, Tammy.
and get everybody on board with understanding the comp plan.
So I'm interrupting Tammy here, and I apologize for this, folks. It's just that we can go on and on and on and on because there's so many topics here. That was a little bit outside of what we're talking about here today. But understand that you can get a lot of information in those trainings. So let's go back to number 4, because I wanted to cover number 4, which is the generation bonus. What does that mean? Well, if you go back to the grid, let's go back here. Okay, generation. So this is it here. It starts coming into you as a goal. When you are a goal, you have 3 generation. I'll give you an example in a minute. Same thing as platinum. When you become a sapphire, then from that point on, you have 4 generation. As an emerald, 5 generation. As a ruby, 6 generation. What are we talking about when we say generation? Well, let's go back to the example that we go here. It's in the compensation plan generation. Here we go. This is what we were just showing you here a moment ago. Okay. Now, this is the example here. The generation are the amount of goals. So, for example, if there's no goals in your business, count everybody. The moment there is a goal, it stops there. So you are a goal right now. And let's say that in your business, on your right side, there are 4 people, and the 5th one is a goal. That's level 1. Actually, level 1 starts with you. That's level 2. And from there, from the goal person that's qualified goal into your business, there's 11 other people that are not goal yet. All of that will be counted for you. And what it does, it looks at all the $10. And remember, if they're paying $20 now instead of $10, that increase because it's 2.5% from every single position. So what's going on is you got 11 times. So that's 10%, 2.5% of $10 should be about what? 25 cents? May not seem like a lot. What happens when there's tens of thousands of people into your business? You understand where this is going. So generation is absolutely amazing. So what's going on here? It says three levels. Okay. So 3 levels, that counts as 1, there's 4. That's counts as 2, there's 11. That counts as 3, that's 5. Some of you may have hundreds because nobody's goal because there's no duplication, right? It kind of benefits you, but it also affects other areas because your team is not going to grow as much, but you will earn more into your 2.5% for every position that are there. And then when we go into the next level, as a sapphire, let me go back to the grid. Where's the grid? Here we are. Is that this? No, not this one. I'm looking at this one here. Okay. So what's happening here is the generations are here, but as a gold and as a platinum, you don't get dynamic compression. That's where you see no and no. But when you become a sapphire, you recall again as a sapphire the qualification, right? Well, as a sapphire, you go 4 generations, so you go 1 more. Okay. That's what we call dynamic compression. Okay. So what's going to happen is looking at your business over here. And if I'm confusing you, don't worry about it. You can always come back and listen to this. In fact, that's what it's telling you here, right? So as a goal, you get generation bonus, but as when you move up, then it's called dynamic compression. So these over here give you an explanation of what I was just telling you about earlier, right? So you don't get paid past number 4 because you get 3. But when you get into the dynamic compression, now what's happening is it's going further. Okay. So what's happening over here is it calculates all the goals. And I'm going to leave it as that because I know right now we passed 11 o'clock. So I want to stay within. But in the compensation plan, there are some information over here. But again, I want to refer you back to these trainings. If you go back to compensation plan, there are some training that I go in absolute detail. And just look for anything that says compensation plan. Okay, so it's here. Join us for a GotBackup compensation plan summary. So that's a summary. It's a little bit what we're doing now, but maybe with less explanation on the mindset around it. But if you go a little deeper, there are some here, GotBackup compensation plan with Tammy and Chris. This here, it's probably more in depth. You can see here an hour and 11 minutes. We went into details from top to bottom on this into this PDF document here. Okay. So we hope that this session has helped you folks. And again, if I kind of speed up Tammy in certain areas, folks, it's because it's really easy to branch off into different aspects of what is available to you to build your business. And that's the reason why we constantly do training, started training, so we can cover all these different aspects. But if you go through them all, I'm telling you, we covered everything that has to do with your back office. And next week, what we're going to do, it's going to be a video, a training that is in line for you to share with anybody who's just got started, to welcome them into the team, to walk them through what they need to be aware of to start focusing on as they build their business, that you can pass on to your generation, to your downline. The more you do this, the more you will encourage the duplication into your business. Any last thing, Tammy, you want to share as we finish?
Yeah, if you can just on the PDF, Chris, go to the bottom of the PDF and show the 4 benchmark. Okay. I want you guys to see that because that's really the building block strategy.
I'm going to go all the way. If you've already
downloaded, go all the way to the end. And I recommend to go over it and over it and over it. I had to go over it a few times, you guys, to really get this. And then, so once you really understand it, then you know what strategy you want to work. And I mentioned earlier, while Chris is showing that, I mentioned earlier that, you could help somebody within your team. Now, you can only see your personal information. So for example, if Chris brought me in and I'm too busy, but he wants to help Jane, who I brought in, and he would contact me personally and just say, Tammy, I know you're super busy right now. Would you be open if I gave Jane a quick call and invite her to our Saturday training so she's got the fundamentals on building and I can help her get to copper? Of course, Tammy's going to say yes. Oh my gosh, yeah, I'd love that. And, so that's how you're able to get other people's permission, right? Because you don't want to go over anybody's head and try and to get to somebody within the downline. You want to respect. I mean, we're in this business of helping people, and we respect each other along the way. I hope that makes sense.
That's an understatement. So we hope that this information has helped you. And Felix, this is really good feedback for us. We wanted you to understand the logic and the emotion behind the compensation plan so you can grasp the potential of it. You go back to Dropbox, who has over 700 million users. Obviously, they're not all active. Let's just say there's 25 to 30% are active. Do you understand the kind of money? We're talking billions of dollars of revenue. When GotBackup gets into a momentum where it has 500,000 members, 1 million members, folks, there are going to be millionaires in GotBackup. Mm-hmm. And I'm not getting here. Millionaires. Some of you are going to make 4 digits, 5 digits, 6 digits monthly, because this plan has no limit. The limit is based on the company's profitability. If a company is in $1 billion in sales, what do you think happens when you provide 75 up to 75% into the compensation plan? Do the math. That's $700 million available to pay out. Do you understand? That's how powerful this is. Of course, we've been going to some growing pains. There's been some updates. There's been some changes. There's some new stuff coming in, and that's what's really nice with Joel is there's always new innovation dealing with social media, posting, and everything else. I know Tammy and I are going to be very active, especially coming in the new year, and doing a lot of these things where you can start right now. And the thing today in social media, it's not about how many people are following you. It's about the content and the interest of your content, on how long people tend to watch your video. And from there, if the people watching happen to like what you're doing because you're posting things 2 or 3 times a day or 4 or 5 times a week, they used to see you. What's happening is the algorithm of TikTok, Facebook, Reels, and Instagram, more people are going to be watching you. And if you have your link on your bio, excuse me,
Bless you.
if you have your link on the bio, then people click on it, and your link could be your funnel, right? Any of the funnels that are available. This is how it's going to grow. So have yourself a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend. We will see you on Wednesday evening, folks. Comment in numbers. Invite your team to show up. I know for some of you, the time zone might be quite late, and I know you're doing your own presentations, but make sure that you attend. If you attend, and if your team attend, we are helping you building your business. So have yourself a great weekend, and bye for now.
Have a great weekend.